Welcome back, baseball fans. The 1973-76 offseason look. And tonight we're wrapping up the look at the waivered players and seeing if any of these players look like they might be a real diamond in the rough in the draft that comes up in March of this year. We looked at 32 of the players of the 64 guys on the waiver list last week. And we have the next 32 to do. Of course, in this column here, we know the card exists because that has to exist to make waivers in 73. Whether they play beyond that is independent. And we highlighted when a player looks good in a future year as well. For instance, you got a player here, Kelleher, where he's pretty much a flat player. No real peaks and valleys. But in 76, he's got a really much more decent card than the years before. So we're going to keep looking at this analysis. And I'm looking at the cards themselves to see what I can, take a look at. And then I'll bring up here the stats in Baseball Reference so you all can see the stats of that player. So we're going to begin with Danny Frisella. Now, Frisella, a really good reliever for the New York Mets in this era, known to get the lefties out. And he participates in all 4 years. And he's got a good year in 75 and 76. This is all great news. So I'm looking at the 73 card. He's got a 4.20 ERA. And righties knock him around a bit. So I'm probably going to say, you know what? Let's go with the future. We'll bring up and look at this comparison just to get some confirmation statistically of what I'm seeing. See, 73 and 74, not so much, but 75 and 76, his ERA is below 4 again. So he's got a little bump in his career, a little road speed bump there, but then he settles down nicely. So let's leave everything alone and highlight just what's there, 75 and 76. Next up, Blue Moon Odom. Only 2 years left in his career, and so far it's not looking good. Is 73 workable? He's 5 and 12 with a 4.49 ERA in 150 innings as a starter 5. And there really isn't much there's nothing really. He's just a guy at that point. There's nothing really special about him. So I'm going to leave that alone as well. Ignore it. I'm only going to highlight it if I think it is going to catch my eye as draftable. But he's just a guy, as we like to say, a righty reliever starter. Next player is John Jeter in the final year of his career. Great defensive outfielder, 2-2 on the corners of 3 in center. C-stealer, 15 base runner. A righty who hits lefties. Okay. And in this particular analysis, I don't necessarily dislike the player, but I have no reason to highlight the player if I'm not comparing it to anything else. You see there's nothing there. So the card will get looked at anyway. So I'm not going to highlight it and suggest, oh, you need to get this guy versus others. He falls into that jag category, just a guy. Next up, Popovich. Now here's a case where 73 and 74 are listed. We didn't like 74 because it wasn't highlighted. So is 73 also marginal? He's a 236 hitter. He's a 3 in all infield positions. He's got power versus lefties. Against righties, he's reasonable. The average is not that bad. He hits probably 260 against righties, so I will highlight that. If only by highlighting this, I'm only doing it to say, well, take 73 over 74, which is good analysis as we get into the draft. Makes drafting speed up a little bit. All right, Hall of Famer Harmon Killebrew. He's on the back 9. He's on the back 3, probably. He's near the end, folks, and he drags it out for 73, 4, and 5. Probably could have called it after 72. But he stuck around for 3 more years. 73, the youngest version of himself. I'm looking at the card. He's still able to draw walks. 41 walks and 248 bats, a 242 average with just 5 home runs. You see, I've got 75 highlighted because his platoon is better. And that's all we're really looking for anyway. He's not an everyday player anymore. this 73 card is just just not enough home runs is a simple answer to the 73 card. So I'm going to ignore that. There's just I mean yeah, the walks are there, but just not enough home runs. So we're gonna skip that. Next player is Ron Woods, and Ron Woods falls into the John Jeter category. Defensive corner outfielder with a minus arm, no power, base stealer, 15 runner. And I like the card because of walks. He's 230. He's got a 230 batting average, but a lot of walks on the card, so I will highlight that 73. And that's the difference between him and Jeter, is that he's got a couple cards, but you actually prefer one. Next player, Duffy Dyer. He's there for 4 years. 76 is the best year. 73, he's got a -2 arm, but he hits 185 with no power. As tempting it is to say I like a -2 arm, I'm just not willing to take that batting average into my league. Yeah, I'm not going to highlight it. We'll just ignore that as well. Mike Epstein, 73. He is on the waiver list. He is a platoon player, and it's not very good. He probably should be on the retirement list. So that will conclude those 8 players. Next up, Jim McAndrews. Got 1 year left in 73, and it's dreadful. Don't have to do any more. Next guy, Luke Walker. Left-handed pitchers always get eyes. This version of Luke Walker in 73, he's got a 4.65 ERA. I'm glad to see 74 highlighted. It's sort of like a whoosh. It means like I can take him off the hook for a bad 73 because he walks just too many guys. And that's what we'll do. Pat Corrales got himself a World Series ring for the Oakland A's just because he could hit left-handed pitching reasonably well. This 73 card, it's the same sort of scenario. And look at, he's got a ton of doubles on his card. We got to look at this. Let's look at Corrales and see if I can figure, because it's worth seeing if the split matches the Strat card. So there's Pat Corrales. He's got himself a World Series ring, and the Oakland A's promptly put him on waivers. So his last year is 73. I got to look at the splits here. Splits will tell you a nice little story. It's just that I don't really have the time or need to want to show you the splits for all these guys. Well, there it is. And so it's 250 versus lefties as 5 for 20. But for some reason, he hits 2 doubles of the 5 hits, which is completely reasonable. But for some reason, they really highlighted doubles on his card. He's got doubles on 7, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Yeah, I'm just not going to go there with this card. I'm going to leave it alone. I thought there'd be an unusual amount of doubles to see so many on his card, and it's not unusual, and it's not that great a card either. So we're going to just ignore that. And plus, he's a +2 catcher. Throwing arms will always... If you're a +2, you're going to lose out to a lot of 0 and negative arm catchers. All right, Mike Hegan was a big reason why Oakland won the World Series. 72, he hit 329. In the timeline, so far, 76 is the best card, and 73, well, he's hitting 243 and 200 at-bats with 7 homers. Great defense. It's just so... For a first baseman, you need more than that. And I'm assuming his defense is steady throughout. I'm not going to highlight that either. Jackie Hernandez, final year in baseball, 73. And he, you know, the funny thing is, I shouldn't, yeah. Well, let's just throw it up here, folks. I mean, there really isn't much to say here other than the fact that we have to analyze these cards one way or the other. So if I'm going to do it, you guys will come along with me. So here's our guy. From 69, he plays every year. So give the guy credit for cracking the roster every year. Never hits above 231 until 73. This card's got a 601 OPS. Last year, he was in the league with a 483 OPS. My goodness. But looking at the card, he's a 40-48 East Steeler. He's a good 14 runner, no power. I'm going to leave it alone. Somebody wants to continue having him added to the league, that's fine, I suppose. Next player is Ken McMullen. He's a 3 third baseman. He's got homers on 6, 5, and 6 against lefties. A double 13 on 8. And against righties, he hits around 265. 247 overall. I'm going to highlight that. Anytime I see that many home runs, my eyes pop out. And I'm like, homers are homers, folks. So we have, of the 4 years, he's here all 4 years, which suggests anytime you see a guy 4 years, he's probably going to be in the league. And we have 2 options, 73 and 75. Probably a 3 and 73. I'm going to guess he's probably a 4 and 75. Next up, Johnny Callison, and it's not going to work out for Johnny. 73, he hits 176. 136 at-bats, probably should have not had that many. Just let the guy go to retirement. Milt Pappas, 73, 162 innings, a 4.28 ERA. And your traditional righty where the lefties knock him around a bit. And he doesn't redeem it versus righties, and he's not even a reliever. It's just not there. So we'll skip that as well. The next group begins with Chris Canizaro's final year of 73. Plus 1 arm catcher hitting 190 with no power, speed, base running, or a split. He's got some walks on his card. That's not going to work. Bob Moose. Now here's a big player. Big important part of the 71 Pirates. 72. He was all right, and they put him on waivers. 75, he recovers nicely. Misses 74 with an injury. But does he have an alternative in 73? That way you can have some comparison. Well, he gets highlighted because he can pitch on 3 days rest, folks. So there we go. Bob Moose pitches on 3 days rest in 1973 with a 354 earned run average. Totally workable card. Starter 7, gets righties out more than lefties. Always did in his career. But you got 2 options. Moose will be in the league. The question, I believe, is do you want him on 3 days rest or do you want him more effective here? Next player, Angel Mangwell. Bad defensively. No speed. Power versus righties, but it's not much power. Batting average is not there. Defense isn't there, and his batting average, no. Here's a weird case where you just have some guys in the, not in my carryover league, but there's probably another carryover league that Mangwell can play in, which rewards marginal participation because he participates. Look, 73, 4, and 5. It's just bad every year. Next guy, Billy Parker. Now he's a 4, and he only plays one position, and it's second base. Can't be any weaker than that. He's a good base runner. Runs on a 15. There's nothing here on this card either. We knew the waiver class would be sketchy because Major League Baseball, after 72, it was pretty weak. Then it gets rejuvenated in 73 when the DH is announced. It's sort of a 4-year cycle. You have expansion in 69. That's a great gig for 4 years. Then you need a spark. So they introduced the DH. That's good through 76. Then 76 kind of lags. You need a spark, so you have Seattle and Toronto added in 77. That works for 4 years, and then you have a strike in 81. As I guess they ran out of. I guess they could have made a DH in the National League in 81 and avoided a strike. Maybe that was the spark they should have gone to. But they didn't reached an agreement, and there you go. They went on strike. So, anyway. 73, Ed Farmer. 4.91 ERA for the Tigers. Relief 2. Gets crushed by lefties. No thank you. LaRon Lee. 4 in the outfield. C Steeler, no power. Was hitting 300. Now he's hitting 237. And nothing special there either. Jerry Bell had a 190 ERA in 72. He's got a 397 ERA. He pitches 184 innings. Starter 7. Okay. I'm actually going to highlight that. You're probably going, but wait a second. You don't highlight it if it's just 1 year. Yeah, I know, but in this particular case, he's like one of the only guys highlighted in 73 that doesn't go on beyond, which is to suggest that's the guy you take, because he actually is workable as a starter 7. Yeah, 397 ERA. Dick Woodson, starter 6, 141 innings, similar ERA. And frankly, there you go. Bell, better than Woodson. Same style. And if you're going to take that style, you take Bell, you don't take Woodson. Until somebody's better than Jerry Bell with 1 year left, I'm going to leave the highlight there. Plus, I've only got 8 guys left. These guys, and we're done. Bobby Heiss, utility player, always valuable. All infield positions, including first base. That's different. A bunter, B hit and runner. Decent against lefties. He's a 4 at shortstop. Shoot. If it was a 3 at shortstop, it might be a little more enticing. There's not much bat here. 204 is being kind. This looks like a sub 200 hitter. He looks worse than a Mario Mendoza type. Maybe 75 will be his answer, but I'm not going to acknowledge that. Next up, Willie Mays, and frankly, this is a simple one. You don't highlight it. We know he exists, and it's simply this. Do you want him to be a DH versus lefties for a contender or the San Francisco Giants or the New York Mets? Or how else would you connect Willie Mays to Major League Baseball? The New York Yankees? Oh, my God. Brooklyn Dodgers? LA Dodgers? This is the case where statistically the guy might be good enough to be a DH in the league, but because he's Willie Mays, I might not want him to be in the league unless he's on the Giants or the Mets, because I don't want him to sully the career. And it's weird to have a Hall of Famer on a weird team. The case was made for Frank Robinson, but Frank Robinson traveled at the end of his career, traveled throughout his career. So it made sense that I would allow him to go to multiple teams. See, Frank did the same thing, right? We know about Cincinnati and Baltimore, but what happened after that? Did you remember the Dodgers and the Angels and Cleveland, and then later Cleveland's manager? So all that travel is why we let Frank travel in our league. But Willie Mays, nah. I got to protect that legacy. I'd rather not see the card than see the card play poorly. John Kennedy, 73, defense at third. No. 181. Nah, I don't think so. Sonny Siebert, starter 5, which means relief 3. So he'll be a reliever with a 73 card. Decent against righties, against lefties. I got to count this up a little bit. It's 4, 5, 6, another 6, a 6, a 16 on 7, and 2 walks, and 8 and 9. That's very mediocre. 4.06 ERA in 122 innings. It's just not worth highlighting. Dick Billings, +2 arm catcher. Power versus righties. Batting average is 179. No. Wayne Granger, relief 3. Decent against righties, really bad against lefties. A 4-9, a 5-9, and a 5 against lefties. That just can't work. All right. Rorik Harrison. It's in all 4 years, and we highlighted 76. Now, why do we do that? Let's go take a look at that. Basically, because we really wanted Rorik Harrison to be in the league because he had such a great what a great start here with Baltimore in 72. I mean, it was outstanding, this card. 94 innings, a 108 whip with Baltimore. For some reason, I think if he would have stayed in Baltimore, he probably would have had a fascinating career. But he gets sent to the launching pad in Atlanta, tiny ballpark, and he gets creamed, as you can imagine. And the ERA goes from 230 into the 4s the entire time. Then he kicks into Cleveland, takes some years off, comes back with the Twins. It's just not there. So why? Oh, that explains it. It's Jack Brohammer in 76, not Rick Harrison. All right, we'll scratch that analysis. So, yeah, he's the same guy for the next 3 years in Atlanta, and it's not pretty. There's your whips, 146, 53, and 43. Just an ordinary guy. So, lastly, we'll skip back to Jack Brohammer. Now I know why 76 was highlighted. Because of his defense. He's a 2 in 76. That'll get you in the league. Hits about 250. But he's like a 4 the other years. Matter of fact, in 73, he's also a 4. B hit and runner's nice. Power's nice. Against righties, it's a 220 card. Hits about 240 versus righties. It's just not enough juice, folks. And when I see when I know there's going to be a major defensive development. By the way, is there a way we can corroborate that through baseballreference.com? Can we show through this site that in 1976, Brohammer was fielded significantly better? So we'll have to go to fielding. Standard fielding, and see what happens in 76 that's not there. Okay, so the innings are there, and the innings were there in 72. So this is interesting. So 72 and 76 are the top innings the guy played. In 72 and 76, he's a 2 both times. So apparently participation means a lot. The errors are low. He's got a 977 percentage in 72, 984 in 76. Sometimes, though, you can get a high fielding percentage if you can't get to any of the ground balls. Fielding runs above average. Maybe that's it. This is the amount of runs you save during the year. So 7 there, and it's negative, 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 and 14 there. I don't know. I don't know how you get the 2-ness from a 4-ness using this situation. But I'm sure it has something to do with fielding percentage. He's better than the league fielding percentage. Turns a lot of double plays as well, 74 of them. The highest total since 72. Perhaps that's the reason. Assists per innings would be interesting, right? That means you're getting to these grounders. Doesn't factor in the fact that you've got ground ball pitchers, I suppose. But I mean, he's getting to 334 ground balls in 955 innings. That's the highest ratio, right? That's almost, look at this, 334 divided by 955. A little bit more than a third. Look above here. That's nowhere close to being a third. 3 times that. Somewhat close. Anyway, that analysis was not very good. I have to admit, folks, that wasn't very good. But, you know, I'll stick with putting my eyeballs on the Strat card, because the bottom line is the stats on Baseball Reference aren't going to win and lose your Strat-O-Matic games. It's the Strat-O-Matic cards are going to win and lose your Strat-O-Matic games. So you just have to go what they gave, what they did. And if they even made mistakes or exaggerated things, then you just have to go with that. You know, that's my opinion on it all. I treat it like artwork, you know. It's like that's how they drew it up. The paint dried on the canvas, and that's what the cards look like, and you just play the cards you're dealt, as the cliche is. So, yeah. So we're going to go with 76 Brohammer because of his good defense. And that concludes the waivered guys. We know originally that you have 64 in year 1, 73. Then it's almost cut in half to 30, then 20, then 14. So we know the further out you go on waivers, very seldom are you going to be good. Brohammer is, Bob Moose to a certain extent is, Mike Hegan's got some good defense, McMullen maybe. Dyer, I think, is a -2 arm here. Frizzell is good against lefties there. Kelleher's got good defense there. I think he might be a 2 at short. Bobby Tolan's really good in 76 with a decent average and a good range. And I think there's a Tom Hutton in here somewhere. Yeah, Tom Hutton's a 1 in 76. That's I don't want to forget about that. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do here, folks. I'm gonna put this in that color. Or what color was it? This color? See, that's the color of Las Vegas's expansion team, and they love defensive first base. So Tom Hutton would be a good replacement for Wes Parker in the draft. So that's just another way of, putting these little reminders out there to help me speed up the draft. And with that, I think we are done looking at the carry-ons, keepers, waivers. The last thing to look at is retires, and it wouldn't take long to look at them, because guess what, folks? We've got a total of 11 cards over 4 years. That's, depending on how you look at it, that's great. It means that we're not pushing talent into retirement. I think this guy is the same guy, Ray Bear. Yeah, Ray Bear is on the retirement list because he didn't play in 73, but he played in 75 and 76 not very well. Jim McLaughlin. Yeah, these guys aren't going to be very good. So, yeah. I'm not going to do an analysis on that. Just to let you know that only 11 cards exist on retirement, which is the smallest amount I've ever seen. We've had 11 guys come out of retirement and play in our league. 11 guys have gotten drafted into our league. I'm only seeing 11 guys. And I can tell you right now that a lot of them, most of them are going to be bad. So maybe 1 or 2 might get drafted, but yeah. All right, that's it tonight, folks. Thanks for checking out this analysis in the 73-76 offseason look. We'll see you next time.